The universe has its warriors, and then there's Capricorn. Standing apart from the cosmic crowd, these earthbound titans move through life with a silent power that commands respect without demanding it. While other signs might shine with flashy charisma or dramatic flair, Capricorns rule with something far more enduring, unshakable resilience forged in life's harshest conditions. Welcome back to Secret of the Zodiac, where today we're dissecting the extraordinary toughness behind the Zodiac's most formidable sign. That quiet Capricorn in your life, the one who never seems fazed by chaos, who builds empires from dust, who weathers storms with barely a flinch, isn't just coincidentally strong. Their cosmic DNA is literally woven with steel threads of endurance that most of us can only marvel at. Saturn, the taskmaster planet ruling Capricorn, doesn't bestow gifts freely. Instead, it teaches through challenge, restriction, and discipline, creating humans who understand from their earliest days that nothing worthwhile comes easily. While other children were playing carelessly, young Capricorns were already sensing the weight of responsibility, developing an inner fortitude that would serve them throughout life's inevitable trials. Look around at the world's most successful people, those who've climbed seemingly impossible mountains against overwhelming odds, and you'll find a disproportionate number of Capricorns among them. From Michelle Obama to LeBron James, from Martin Luther King Jr. to Kate Middleton, these individuals exemplify the unstoppable Capricorn spirit. They don't just persevere, they transform obstacles into stepping stones on their relentless upward journey. What makes this sign so remarkably tough isn't just their ability to endure hardship, it's their capacity to become stronger because of it. Where others might break under pressure, Capricorns crystallize like diamonds. Where others seek escape from difficult truths, Capricorns face them head-on, extracting wisdom from every painful lesson. This isn't just stubbornness, it's evolutionary adaptation at its finest. The symbol of Capricorn, the sea goat with the body of a goat and tail of a fish, reveals much about their dual nature. The goat represents their unyielding climb to the summit, navigating treacherous terrain with sure-footed determination. Meanwhile, the fish tail symbolizes their emotional depths, often hidden beneath the pragmatic exterior. This combination creates beings who are simultaneously grounded in harsh reality while harboring deep emotional currents that fuel their drive. If you've ever wondered why that Capricorn friend seems impervious to setbacks that would devastate others, or how they maintain laser focus when everyone else has given up, you're about to discover the astrological secrets behind their extraordinary resilience. Their toughness isn't accidental. It's written in the stars, encoded in their cosmic blueprint, and manifested through 12 distinct characteristics that set them apart in a universe of more fragile souls. Before we dive deeper into these 12 remarkable traits, take a moment to connect with our community of astrology enthusiasts. Hit that subscribe button to join our cosmic family at Secret of the Zodiac, and tap the like button to help more seekers discover the profound wisdom hidden in the stars. Your support allows us to continue unraveling these celestial mysteries for hungry minds like yours. Now prepare to understand the Capricorn in your life like never before, as we explore the first 3 reasons these magnificent beings stand as the Zodiac's ultimate survivors. Their journey begins with something few other signs possess, a relationship with hardship that transforms struggle into strength. The first reason: Saturn's iron grip molds them into resilient warriors from birth. Born under Saturn's stern watch, Capricorns enter this world already carrying a weightier burden than most. The ringed planet doesn't coddle its children. Instead, it challenges them from their earliest moments, creating beings who develop an intimate familiarity with struggle long before they fully understand it. This cosmic tutelage isn't cruelty, it's preparation. While other signs may experience Saturn's lessons as passing phases during their Saturn returns, Capricorns live perpetually in this demanding classroom, developing muscles of resilience that most can scarcely comprehend. Consider the Capricorn child, often serious beyond their years, shouldering responsibilities that their peers wouldn't dream of taking on. They're the young caregivers, the early workers, the ones who somehow grasp the concept of delayed gratification, while others, their age, remain blissfully present-focused. This isn't coincidence. It's Saturn's deliberate forging process. Each disappointment, each obstacle, each moment when easier paths are denied serves as another hammer strike, shaping them into beings of exceptional durability. Saturn teaches Capricorns that the universe rewards not wishful thinking, but sustained effort. Through this harsh but valuable education, they develop an unshakable inner core that remains steady when chaos erupts around them. Their resilience isn't born of naivety or blind optimism. It's forged through intimate knowledge of life's harshest realities and the discovery that they can withstand far more than they ever imagined possible. This resilience manifests in a peculiar relationship with failure that few other signs possess. Where others might be devastated by setbacks, Capricorns almost expect them, not from pessimism, but from pragmatism. They understand intuitively that meaningful achievement requires weathering numerous storms. This perspective transforms what others experience as soul-crushing defeat into merely another predictable step on their climb toward mastery. The second reason, self-discipline that would impress even the strictest military general. If there's one trait that sets Capricorns apart in a world increasingly seduced by instant gratification, it's their extraordinary self-discipline. This isn't the sporadic motivation that comes and goes with inspiration. It's a fundamental operating system, a way of moving through the world that prioritizes long-term vision over momentary comfort. When a Capricorn commits to a path, peripheral temptations simply fade from view, rendered irrelevant by their unwavering focus. Their self-discipline operates on multiple levels simultaneously. Physically, they can push their bodies beyond normal limits, working longer hours, enduring greater discomfort, and maintaining routines with machine-like consistency. Mentally, they exhibit remarkable control over wandering thoughts, maintaining focus when others would long since have succumbed to distraction. Emotionally, they exercise restraint that borders on supernatural, containing reactions that would overflow in more expressive signs. This discipline isn't motivated merely by external goals, but by an internal standard of excellence that demands their absolute best, regardless of whether anyone is watching. The Capricorn, working late into the night, perfecting details no one else will notice, isn't performing for an audience. They're answering to a demanding internal taskmaster that accepts nothing less than mastery. Their satisfaction comes not from praise, but from knowing they've met their own exacting standards. What's particularly remarkable about Capricorn discipline is its sustainability. While other signs might exhibit bursts of intense focus followed by burnout, Capricorns maintain a steady, measured pace that can span decades. They intuitively understand that real achievement isn't about spectacular sprints, but consistent forward motion. This marathon mindset allows them to outlast competitors who burn too brightly too soon, collecting victories through sheer persistence when flashier talents have long since exhausted themselves. The third reason, they're playing chess while others play checkers, always 3 steps ahead. In a world of reactive thinkers, Capricorns stand out as master strategists. Their minds naturally extend beyond immediate circumstances, mapping complex sequences of cause and effect that others simply don't perceive. This isn't merely intelligence, though Capricorns typically possess that in abundance. It's a particular form of temporal awareness that constantly processes how today's actions will ripple into tomorrow's realities. Watch a Capricorn navigate career challenges, and you'll witness this strategic thinking in action. While colleagues might scramble to address immediate problems, the Capricorn is simultaneously solving those issues while positioning themselves advantageously for opportunities that won't materialize for months or even years. They place themselves on career chessboards with remarkable precision, making moves that seem puzzling to observers until their brilliance becomes evident several steps later. This strategic mindset extends beyond professional realms into all areas of life. Capricorns approach relationships, finances, health, and personal development with the same forward-thinking perspective. They are rarely caught unprepared because their minds have already traveled to potential futures and developed contingency plans for numerous scenarios. This mental time travel provides a remarkable advantage in navigating life's complexities. What might appear as uncanny luck to others is usually the fruit of strategic seeds planted long ago. The Capricorn who coincidentally has emergency savings when crisis strikes, who happens to have the perfect skill set when an opportunity emerges, who somehow avoids disasters that befall others, these aren't beneficiaries of fortune, but architects of preparedness. Their toughness derives partly from rarely being truly surprised. They've mentally rehearsed responses to challenges before those challenges materialize. This strategic nature carries profound psychological benefits. While others experience anxiety about uncertain futures, Capricorns find comfort in their preparation. While others might feel victimized by circumstance, Capricorns maintain a sense of agency through their contingency planning. This mental positioning creates resilience against the psychological impact of setbacks. They've already incorporated potential failures into their calculations and mapped pathways forward. Perhaps most impressively, Capricorns apply this strategic thinking even to their own development. They approach personal growth not as a vague aspiration, but as a calculated campaign, identifying weaknesses with clinical precision and systematically strengthening them. They don't merely hope to become better, they engineer their improvement through deliberate practice and strategic challenges that target specific growth areas. This chess player mentality creates a fascinating paradox at the heart of Capricorn toughness. While they appear supremely confident in navigating complex situations, this confidence stems not from arrogance, but from extensive preparation. Their unflappable demeanor in crisis isn't born of emotional detachment, but of having mentally visited this territory before. They've already processed contingencies that others are encountering for the first time, allowing them to respond with measured precision while others react with panic. As we observe these first three dimensions of Capricorn toughness, their Saturn-forged resilience, their extraordinary self-discipline, and their strategic foresight, a pattern emerges. Their strength isn't flashy or performative. It's methodical, sustainable, and deeply integrated into their character. These aren't temporary states they access when needed. They're fundamental operating principles that guide every aspect of their lives. The fourth reason: emotional walls higher than medieval fortresses. Letting very few people truly in behind the composed exterior of every Capricorn lies an architectural marvel of emotional protection. These walls aren't hastily constructed barricades thrown up in moments of panic. They're meticulously designed fortifications built stone by stone throughout a lifetime. Each disappointment, betrayal, or vulnerability exploited adds another layer of thickness, another watchtower of vigilance, another moat of distance between their tender inner world and those who might disturb its careful balance. Mistaking these emotional fortresses for coldness represents a fundamental misunderstanding of the Capricorn heart. Within these walls burns a fire, a feeling often more intense than the emotional infernos of more expressive signs. The difference lies not in the depth of emotion, but in its containment. Where others allow feelings to spill outward in visible displays, Capricorns channel emotional energy inward, converting it into fuel for achievement, determination, and unwavering resolve. This emotional containment serves multiple strategic purposes. First, it preserves precious energy that might otherwise be spent processing external reactions to their feelings. Second, it protects them from manipulation by those who might exploit known vulnerabilities. Third, and perhaps most importantly, it ensures that emotional storms, no matter how powerful, never divert them from their chosen path. While others might be blown off course by passionate winds, Capricorns remain anchored by their emotional discipline. The select few, granted passage through these walls, discover something remarkable, a sensitivity and depth that defies the stoic exterior. Earning a Capricorn's trust reveals not an emotional wasteland, but a carefully tended garden of profound feeling, thoughtful perspective, and surprising tenderness. This contrast between external fortress and internal garden creates relationships of extraordinary depth, precisely because the Capricorn doesn't distribute emotional access indiscriminately. This selectivity extends to whom they allow to witness their struggles. A Capricorn might battle tremendous personal challenges while presenting an untroubled face to the world. This isn't deception but discretion, an understanding that emotional containment preserves both personal dignity and the effectiveness of their leadership. By processing difficulties privately, they maintain the steadiness others rely upon, creating islands of stability in turbulent times. The toughness derived from these emotional walls manifests in remarkable crisis resilience. When disasters strike that would emotionally devastate others, Capricorns activate containment protocols that allow them to function effectively despite internal turmoil. This doesn't mean they don't feel pain. Often they feel it acutely. But they've mastered the art of partitioning suffering so it doesn't compromise necessary action. The fifth reason, silent endurance of pain. They'll suffer before admitting weakness. The Capricorn relationship with suffering differs fundamentally from other signs. Where some might view pain as something to be avoided at all costs, Capricorns develop an almost philosophical relationship with it, seeing it not as an enemy, but as a necessary teacher on the path to mastery. This perspective transforms their experience of difficulty, allowing them to extract value from circumstances that might crush less resilient spirits. Their capacity for silent endurance manifests across multiple dimensions. Physically, they often push through discomfort that would sideline others, working despite illness, continuing despite exhaustion, persisting despite pain. Mentally, they tolerate frustration, boredom, and tedium that would drive others to abandon challenging projects. Emotionally, they weather disappointments, rejections, and losses without visible faltering, processing their grief privately while maintaining outward steadiness. This silent endurance isn't born of unhealthy stoicism or emotional repression, but of profound pragmatism. Capricorns intuitively understand that complaining rarely improves circumstances and often diminishes both energy and respect. They recognize that public vulnerability, while occasionally appropriate, frequently attracts the wrong kind of attention: pity rather than partnership, sympathy rather than solutions. Their silence isn't about hiding weakness, but about strategically channeling energy toward resolution rather than reaction. Perhaps most impressively, Capricorns endure not just acute suffering, but chronic challenges, the daily grind that wears down more impatient spirits. They possess remarkable stamina for long-term difficulty, maintaining consistent effort through extended periods of limited reward. This capacity makes them particularly suited for endeavors requiring years of foundation building before visible success emerges. Careers, relationships, and personal developments that demand sustained investment. The wisdom behind their silent endurance becomes apparent in long-term outcomes. While others exhaust themselves with emotional processing, seek constant validation for their struggles, or abandon difficult paths prematurely, Capricorns quietly accumulate progress. Their suffering isn't wasted but converted into advancement. Each difficulty endured becomes another step toward mastery, another layer of resilience, another credential in their impressive portfolio of overcoming. This silent strength creates peculiar moments of revelation. The Capricorn, who has battled serious illness without mentioning it to colleagues. The Capricorn who has weathered devastating personal loss while maintaining professional commitments. The Capricorn who has overcome childhood trauma without using it as an explanation for limitation. These aren't performances of strength, but expressions of a fundamental belief system: that private challenge need not become public identity, that difficulty can be transmuted into determination. The sixth reason, their own worst critics, holding themselves to impossible standards. Within every Capricorn mind resides an internal evaluator of unmatched stringency, a critic whose standards exceed even the most demanding external judgment. This inner assessor reviews their performance with microscopic attention to flaws, measuring achievements not against reasonable expectations, but against theoretical perfection. Where others might celebrate good enough, This internal critic continually asks, how could this be better? This self-critical nature drives a perpetual improvement engine that rarely idles. Capricorns scrutinize their work, behavior, decisions, and character with relentless objectivity, identifying deficiencies others might never notice. This isn't destructive self-criticism, but strategic assessment, a commitment to excellence that refuses to accept mediocrity, even when it would be entirely acceptable to others. The standards Capricorns establish for themselves often appear objectively impossible. They might demand flawless performance in challenging circumstances, complete mastery of complex skills within compressed time frames, or perfect execution across multiple domains simultaneously. These expectations aren't delusions, but aspirational targets, north stars that guide continual advancement even when fully reaching them remains unlikely. This internal critic creates a fascinating paradox in Capricorn achievement. Their self-assessment often appears harshly negative despite objectively impressive accomplishments. A Capricorn might dismiss as inadequate performance that others would celebrate as exceptional, focusing not on what was achieved, but on the gap between result and ideal. This perpetual dissatisfaction, while occasionally frustrating, prevents complacency and drives continued growth long after others would have rested on their laurels. The toughness emerging from this self-critical nature manifests in remarkable resilience against external criticism. When others point out flaws, Capricorns often respond with calm acknowledgement, not because they're emotionally invulnerable, but because they've likely already identified these deficiencies themselves. Their internal critic typically exceeds external critics in both accuracy and severity, rendering outside judgment relatively unthreatening by comparison. Perhaps most importantly, this self-critical nature fuels a lifelong commitment to mastery. Capricorns rarely believe they've arrived at complete development. They perpetually identify new growth edges, fresh challenges, and expanding horizons. This orientation creates beings who continue evolving decades after peers have settled into comfortable stasis, accumulating wisdom, skill, and capability into their elder years, while maintaining the humility of eternal students. The inner standards Capricorns establish create a particular kind of tough-mindedness. When external circumstances become challenging, they don't lower their expectations. They rise to meet them through extraordinary effort. This refusal to compromise standards, even in difficult situations, drives remarkable achievement in conditions that would justify mediocrity from others. Their toughness emerges not despite their impossible standards, but because of them. The very height of their aspirations forces development of exceptional capability. As we examine these three aspects of Capricorn emotional toughness, their fortress-like boundaries, their silent endurance, and their uncompromising self-standards, we glimpse the interior landscape that produces their remarkable outer strength. Their toughness isn't a performance, but an expression of profound inner architecture, carefully constructed throughout a lifetime of intentional development. They stand as living testimonies to the extraordinary durability that emerges when emotion is neither denied nor indulged, but channeled with strategic precision toward meaningful achievement. The seventh reason, the relentless mountain goat that climbs despite exhaustion, rain, or snow. The mountain goat, symbolizing Capricorn, reveals profound truth about their nature. These remarkable creatures navigate treacherous alpine terrain that would defeat most animals, scaling seemingly impossible vertical faces with a calm confidence that defies gravity. They find footholds where none appear to exist, maintain balance on the narrowest ledges, and traverse landscapes that appear utterly inhospitable. This isn't merely an astrological symbol, but a living metaphor for the Capricorn spirit. When a Capricorn commits to a path, they develop a relationship with difficulty fundamentally different from most. Where others see obstacles as signals to retreat or change direction, Capricorns perceive them as inevitable features of any landscape worth traversing. The steepness of the climb doesn't discourage them. It confirms they're pursuing something of genuine value. This perspective transforms what others experience as deterrents into waypoints on their journey, markers of progress rather than impediments to it. This climbing nature manifests most visibly in their approach to long-term goals. A Capricorn pursuing educational credentials, building a business, developing a relationship, or mastering a craft exhibits remarkable continuity of effort across time. They don't require constant encouragement, frequent rewards, or continuous progress to maintain motivation. The internal vision of their destination provides sufficient fuel for sustained action, allowing them to continue advancing when external reinforcement disappears. The weather conditions of their climb, metaphorical rain, snow, or darkness, rarely halt their progress. Capricorns develop an almost stoic relationship with adverse circumstances, seeing them not as reasons to stop, but simply as changing conditions requiring adaptation. Economic downturns, relationship difficulties, health challenges, or resource limitations that might derail others become problems to solve rather than excuses to abandon course. This weather-indifferent persistence creates a peculiar immunity to the fair weather motivation that characterizes more capricious signs. Perhaps most remarkably, Capricorns continue climbing despite exhaustion, pushing beyond the fatigue barriers that halt others. This isn't reckless disregard for legitimate physical or emotional needs, but an expanded conception of their capacity. Where others might interpret tiredness as a signal to stop completely, Capricorns recognize gradations of fatigue and continue advancing at adjusted paces. This calibrated persistence allows them to extract productivity from states where others would have long since declared themselves depleted. Their climbing nature creates fascinating psychological adaptations. Capricorns develop intimate familiarity with the middle stages of projects, the unglamorous developmental phases where initial excitement has faded but completion remains distant. While others feel disoriented or discouraged in these middle territories, Capricorns navigate them with practiced ease, having developed comfort with the prolonged tension between vision and current reality. This middle stage tolerance allows them to complete ambitious projects that others abandon during inevitable motivational dips. The Capricorn climber doesn't merely endure the journey, but develops appreciation for it. Over time, they begin recognizing not just the destination's value, but the climb's inherent worth, the strengthening of capability, the development of character, the refinement of strategy that occurs nowhere except on difficult paths. This evolutionary perspective transforms their relationship with challenge from mere tolerance to active embrace, creating individuals who voluntarily seek demanding terrain as the environment most conducive to their continued growth. The eighth reason, masters of the long game, patient enough to wait years for sweet victory. In an era of shrinking attention spans and collapsing time frames, Capricorns remain rare masters of extended patience, architects of achievements measured not in days or months, but in years and decades. Their relationship with time differs fundamentally from our instant gratification culture, where contemporary wisdom celebrates immediate results and quick wins. Capricorns instinctively recognize that anything of genuine value requires maturation periods that cannot be artificially accelerated. This patience manifests in their approach to skill development. While others seek shortcuts, life hacks, and rapid expertise, Capricorns quietly commit to mastery paths spanning years. They accept without resentment the thousands of practice hours required for genuine excellence, the countless iterations necessary for refinement, the extended apprenticeship preceding acknowledged expertise. This long-view approach eventually produces capabilities of exceptional quality and durability, skills developed not through cramming but through gradual integration. Their temporal patience extends to opportunity recognition. Capricorns possess remarkable discernment between genuine opportunities and seductive distractions. They'll pass on immediately rewarding options that compromise long-term positioning, waiting instead for alignments that serve their extended strategy. This selectivity means they often appear to progress more slowly initially, turning down roles, relationships, or recognitions that others eagerly accept. But their trajectory eventually surpasses more opportunistic peers through superior strategic positioning. Perhaps most impressively, Capricorns maintain patience through extended reward deserts, periods where their efforts generate little visible return. They continue investing energy, resources, and focus into endeavors despite minimal external validation, sustained by internal conviction rather than external reinforcement. This capacity for delayed gratification represents increasingly rare psychological capital in contemporary culture, providing competitive advantage in domains requiring substantial foundation building before results materialize. Their patience creates a fascinating relationship with failure. Where others experience setbacks as devastating evidence they're on the wrong path, Capricorns integrate them as inevitable components of any meaningful journey. This perspective prevents the premature abandonment of worthy pursuits after initial difficulties. They simply extend their anticipated timeline, adjust their approach, and continue advancing. Over extended periods, this failure tolerance transforms what others experience as terminal roadblocks into temporary detours on their continued climb. The Capricorn long game produces a peculiar relationship with achievement itself.
Their victories rarely arrive as sudden breakthroughs, but as gradual emergences, tipping points where accumulated effort finally generates visible results.
These moments often appear as overnight success to outside observers who missed the years of invisible foundation building. The Capricorn receives these recognitions not with surprise, but with quiet satisfaction, having long anticipated the eventual materialization of their strategic vision. This extended patience shouldn't be mistaken for passivity or complacency. Capricorns maintain continuous action toward their goals. Their patience manifests not as waiting, but as sustained effort without expectation of immediate reward. They keep building, developing, refining, and positioning regardless of external validation, creating value that eventually becomes impossible to ignore. Their patience represents not inaction, but liberated action, effort freed from the psychological burden of constant gratification. The ninth reason, brutally realistic worldview that prepares them for life's harshest blows. At the core of Capricorn toughness lies a relationship with reality unlike any other sign. While others construct psychological buffers against difficult truths, Capricorns develop capacity to face reality in its unfiltered state, to see circumstances not as they wish them to be, but as they actually are. This unflinching realism might appear pessimistic to more idealistic types, but actually represents sophisticated psychological adaptation that prepares them for effective navigation of an imperfect world. Their realism begins with clear-eyed self-assessment. Capricorns typically maintain accurate awareness of both their capabilities and limitations, neither inflating their strengths nor denying their weaknesses. This self-knowledge prevents the twin dangers of overconfidence and underutilization, allowing strategic deployment of their actual capacities rather than their imagined ones. Their realistic self-image creates resilience against the psychological damage of unexpected failure, as they've already incorporated their vulnerabilities into their operating awareness. This realism extends to their perception of others. Capricorns rarely project idealized versions onto people, instead accepting human complexity with all its accompanying contradictions. They anticipate that others will sometimes disappoint, occasionally betray, and inevitably fall short of perfection, not from cynicism but from pragmatic acceptance of human nature. This realistic orientation prevents the devastation that follows when idealized projections collapse, allowing them to maintain functional relationships despite inevitable imperfections. Perhaps most valuably, Capricorn realism extends to their assessment of circumstances. They develop remarkable capacity to evaluate situations without emotional distortion, seeing challenges in their actual dimensions rather than catastrophizing or minimizing them. This clear perception allows precise response calibration, deploying exactly the resources required rather than overreacting or under-responding. Their accurate situational assessment prevents the energy waste of emotional amplification, preserving resources for effective action rather than dramatic reaction. This realistic orientation provides particular advantage during crisis. When disasters strike, Capricorns typically skip the denial stage that delays effective response, moving immediately to assessment and action. Their pre-existing acceptance that difficulty is inevitable means they waste minimal energy on the "why me?" questioning that often paralyzes others during hardship. Their realistic preparation for potential problems means they've frequently established contingencies that reduce catastrophic impact, having anticipated and prepared for situations others assumed would never happen. The Capricorn realistic worldview creates a peculiar relationship with optimism. Rather than maintaining blind faith that everything will work out, they develop strategic optimism, confidence, not that circumstances will automatically improve, but that they possess the capability to improve circumstances through deliberate action. This agency-centered perspective creates resilience against the learned helplessness that often accompanies repeated setbacks, maintaining motivation even when external conditions appear bleak. Their realism extends even to mortality and limitation. Capricorns typically develop earlier acceptance of life's inherent constraints, the finite nature of time, the inevitable physical decline, the limitation of resources, the impossibility of having everything simultaneously. Rather than raging against these boundaries or pretending they don't exist, Capricorns incorporate them into their strategic planning. This acceptance transforms what others experience as devastating recognitions into simple parameters for effective navigation, allowing them to maximize impact within real-world constraints instead of wasting energy fighting immutable conditions. As we explore these three dimensions of Capricorn determination, their relentless climbing nature, their mastery of the long game, and their brutally realistic worldview, we witness the infrastructure supporting their extraordinary persistence. These aren't mere personality traits, but integrated systems that work together to create individuals capable of sustaining effort through conditions that defeat most others. Their toughness emerges from this rare combination of unrelenting forward motion, extended patience, and clear-eyed realism, a synergy that produces some of the most durable and effective individuals in the Zodiac landscape. The 10th reason, the backbone that never breaks, supporting others while carrying their own burdens. Within the Capricorn spirit lies a structural integrity rarely seen in other signs, a capacity to provide unwavering support while simultaneously bearing their own considerable loads. Like the architectural masterpieces that have withstood centuries of stress, Capricorns possess internal buttressing that allows them to serve as pillars of strength in systems much larger than themselves. This isn't merely about emotional fortitude, but about fundamental load-bearing capacity that makes them indispensable in families, organizations, and communities. This backbone quality manifests first in their reliability. When a Capricorn commits to responsibility, they fulfill it with remarkable consistency, regardless of personal circumstance. They don't require optimal conditions to meet obligations. They deliver through illness, stress, grief, and challenge. This reliability isn't situational, but structural. It emerges not from temporary motivation, but from deeply integrated values that prioritize commitment fulfillment as non-negotiable. In worlds of increasing flakiness and conditional responsibility, this unfailing dependability becomes increasingly precious. Their supporting nature extends beyond simple task reliability into more profound emotional stabilization. Capricorns often serve as psychological anchors during turbulent times, the calm presence that helps others regain balance when circumstances become chaotic. Without grand declarations or dramatic interventions, they create islands of stability through their measured responses, practical perspective, and emotional regulation. Their steady demeanor during crisis provides psychological safety that allows others to process and respond more effectively than they could in isolation. What makes this supporting capacity particularly remarkable is its bidirectionality. Unlike those who can only offer support when their own circumstances are comfortable, Capricorns maintain this stabilizing presence while navigating their own substantial challenges. They demonstrate extraordinary compartmentalization, maintaining their supporting function despite personal burdens that might completely incapacitate other signs. This dual capacity creates individuals who remain reliable resources, even while weathering private storms of considerable magnitude. The backbone metaphor extends to their organizational role. In systems of all types, Capricorns typically occupy positions that require structural integrity rather than flash. They gravitate toward responsibilities that, while often less visible than spotlight roles, provide essential support, without which the entire enterprise would collapse. Their comfort with these backbone positions stems not from lack of ambition, but from pragmatic recognition of where their strengths create maximum value and stability for the collective. Their supporting nature reveals itself particularly during transitional periods, when systems undergo restructuring, when familiar patterns dissolve, when established hierarchies transform. Capricorns provide crucial continuity that prevents unnecessary disruption. They maintain essential functions during organizational earthquakes, preserving critical operations while adaptations occur around them. This stabilizing presence during change prevents the operational collapse that often accompanies transition, allowing evolution without destruction. Perhaps most valuably, Capricorns offer support without resentment, a rare psychological achievement in a culture that often tracks favors with accounting precision. They don't maintain mental balance sheets of giving versus receiving, don't weaponize their contributions during conflict, don't require constant acknowledgement of their supporting role. This clean relationship with service stems from self-sufficiency rather than martyrdom. They give from genuine surplus rather than depleted reserves, allowing sustainable support unmarred by the bitterness that often accompanies overextension. The 11th reason: calculating risk-takers who've already planned for failure before they begin. Contrary to the cautious stereotype, Capricorns often take substantial risks, but with a methodology fundamentally different from more impulsive signs. They approach risk not as exciting gambling but as strategic calculation, developing sophisticated risk intelligence that allows thoughtful engagement with uncertainty. This approach creates a distinctive form of courage, not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it through meticulous preparation and contingency development. Their risk methodology begins with thorough assessment. Before entering uncertain territory, Capricorns typically conduct exhaustive analysis, gathering relevant data, studying historical patterns, consulting experienced advisors, and calculating multiple probability scenarios. This preparation isn't procrastination, but essential groundwork that transforms blind risk into calculated venture. Their preliminary investment in understanding dramatically improves decision quality, allowing them to accept or reject risks based on actual landscape rather than optimistic fantasy. This calculated approach extends to resource allocation. Capricorns rarely risk everything on single ventures, instead deploying assets with strategic diversification that prevents catastrophic collapse if individual initiatives fail. They maintain careful reserves, create buffer zones around essential resources, and establish firewalls between separate undertakings. This risk containment strategy allows them to pursue ambitious objectives without exposing themselves to complete devastation, preserving recovery capacity regardless of outcome. Perhaps most distinctively, Capricorns develop extensive failure planning before committing to risky ventures. They invest substantial energy imagining and preparing for potential negative outcomes, developing detailed response strategies for scenarios others prefer not to contemplate. This preemptive failure planning reduces the psychological impact of setbacks when they occur, transforming what others experience as devastating surprises into anticipated challenges for which solutions already exist. Their readiness for negative outcomes creates remarkable recovery speed, allowing them to implement damage control immediately rather than wasting precious time on shock or denial. The Capricorn approach to risk creates a fascinating paradox. They often appear more conservative than they actually are. Their extensive preparation and contingency development can be mistaken for hesitancy, when in reality, they're simply building the infrastructure that will support bold action. Once this foundation is established, they frequently pursue objectives of remarkable ambition, not with reckless abandon, but with well-engineered confidence based on genuine readiness for both success and failure. This calculated risk-taking extends to relationship domains. Capricorns typically approach emotional investment with the same strategic preparation they apply to other ventures, developing clear understanding of relational landscape, establishing appropriate boundaries, and creating contingency plans for potential heartbreak. This approach can appear unromantic to those who equate love with blind leap, but it creates partnerships of exceptional durability, relationships built not on temporary infatuation, but on sustainable infrastructure, designed to weather inevitable storms. Their risk intelligence manifests particularly in their approach to professional reinvention. While others might remain in deteriorating situations from fear of change, Capricorns calculate when strategic pivots become necessary and execute them with well-planned precision. They're willing to leave established positions, transform business models, or enter entirely new domains when analysis indicates superior positioning, not from impulsivity, but from calculated recognition that the greater risk often lies in maintaining status quo beyond its viable lifespan. The 12th reason, time-tested wisdom that makes them old souls from their earliest years. At the core of Capricorn identity lies a peculiar temporal displacement, a sense of being ancient even while young. From childhood, they often exhibit understanding that appears to exceed their chronological experience, as if they've already lived multiple lifetimes before this current incarnation. This isn't mere precociousness, but a fundamental orientation toward existence that prioritizes accumulated wisdom over temporary excitement, sustainable practice over momentary trend, proven principle over passing fashion. This old soul quality manifests first in their relationship with novelty. While others chase latest innovations, Capricorns typically evaluate new offerings against historical patterns, asking not, "Is this exciting?" but "Has this proven valuable over time?" Their instinctive recognition that most revolutionary developments are merely repackaged versions of previous iterations creates healthy skepticism toward hyperbolic claims. This discernment prevents the resource waste of pursuing every shiny distraction, allowing concentrated investment in developments with genuine transformative potential. Their wisdom emerges clearly in relationship with authority. Rather than reflexively rebelling against established structures or blindly conforming to them, Capricorns typically develop nuanced understanding of when tradition contains embedded wisdom and when it perpetuates unnecessary limitation. They can simultaneously respect legitimate expertise while questioning unjustified control, navigate existing systems while gradually reforming them, honor valuable heritage while pruning outdated elements. This balanced approach prevents both the chaos of needless disruption and the stagnation of uncritical acceptance. Perhaps most valuably, Capricorn wisdom manifests in their relationship with suffering. They develop early recognition that pain is not merely something to be avoided, but often the pathway to growth, not simply punishment, but frequently pedagogy. This perspective transforms their experience of difficulty, allowing them to extract value from circumstances others experience as merely destructive. Their suffering becomes educative rather than merely traumatic, producing insights that inform future navigation rather than wounds that restrict it. Their time-tested orientation creates distinctive approach to trendy movements. While others might immediately embrace popular philosophies, practices, or perspectives, Capricorns typically observe initial enthusiasm from thoughtful distance, watching for which elements demonstrate sustainable value beyond temporary excitement. This measured engagement means they often appear behind curve initially, but ultimately integrate more durable elements while avoiding wasted investment in aspects that prove transient. Their selectivity creates wisdom portfolios of exceptional quality, comprised of elements chosen for substance rather than social approval. The Capricorn old soul nature produces particular relationship with youth culture. Even during their own chronological youth, they often maintain slight distance from age group preoccupations, participating selectively rather than immersively. This partial detachment isn't social awkwardness, but temporal perspective. They instinctively recognize which youthful concerns will remain relevant decades later and which will become embarrassing memories. Their ability to distinguish between developmental necessities and passing fixations allows more efficient navigation of early life stages, minimizing regrettable detours while still experiencing essential passages. This wisdom culminates in remarkable perspective maintenance during crisis. When destabilizing events occur, Capricorns typically retain broader context awareness that escapes others caught in emotional immediacy. They remember historical parallels, recognize natural cycles, and maintain temporal horizons that extend beyond current circumstance. This extended perspective doesn't eliminate appropriate emotional response, but contextualizes it within larger understanding, preventing the catastrophizing that occurs when present difficulty appears unprecedented and terminal, rather than challenging but navigable. As we examine these final 3 dimensions of Capricorn toughness, their backbone support capacity, their calculated risk approach, and their time-tested wisdom, we complete our understanding of what makes this sign the Zodiac's ultimate survivor. Their toughness emerges not from single dominant trait, but from integrated system of complementary qualities that work together to create extraordinary durability. They combine emotional containment with practical support, strategic risk-taking with failure preparation, ancient wisdom with contemporary application, synergies that produce individuals capable of withstanding pressures that would break less integrated spirits. In a world increasingly characterized by fragility, psychological fragility, emotional fragility, structural fragility, Capricorns represent precious countercultural presence. They demonstrate sustainable strength in era of burnout, consistent reliability in time of flakiness, patient persistence in age of immediate gratification. Their toughness isn't toxic stoicism or performative hardness, but genuine durability, the capacity to remain standing, advancing, and supporting, despite conditions that topple less robustly constructed souls. As we've journeyed through the 12 dimensions of Capricorn toughness, a comprehensive portrait emerges of perhaps the Zodiac's most resilient sign. From their Saturn-forged resilience that molds them into warriors from birth to their self-discipline that would impress even the strictest military general, from their strategic chess player mindset to their fortress-like emotional boundaries, Capricorns embody a rare combination of qualities that create extraordinary durability in our increasingly fragile world. We've witnessed how their silent endurance allows them to suffer without complaint, how their impossibly high standards drive continuous improvement, and how their relentless mountain goat nature keeps them climbing despite exhaustion, rain, or snow. We've explored their mastery of the long game, their patience to wait years for sweet victory, alongside their brutally realistic worldview that prepares them for life's harshest blows without delusion or denial. In our final exploration, we discovered how Capricorns serve as the backbone that never breaks, supporting others while carrying their own considerable burdens. We examined their calculated approach to risk-taking, where they've already planned for failure before they begin, creating contingencies that transform potential disasters into manageable setbacks. And finally, we uncovered the time-tested wisdom that makes them old souls from their earliest years, ancient spirits navigating contemporary challenges with perspective that transcends their chronological age. This Capricorn toughness isn't merely theoretical. It manifests in real-world achievement across countless domains. Look at the Capricorns in your own life, and you'll likely recognize these qualities driving their remarkable resilience. Perhaps you're a Capricorn yourself, nodding in recognition as these traits mirror your own inner landscape. Or maybe you have Capricorn placements in your birth chart that resonate with certain aspects of this toughness, even if it's not your sun sign. The value of understanding Capricorn resilience extends beyond mere astrological curiosity. In a world increasingly characterized by uncertainty, volatility, and unprecedented challenge, the Capricorn approach to adversity offers vital lessons for all of us, regardless of our zodiac placement. Their strategic preparation, emotional containment, patient persistence, and pragmatic realism provide templates for navigating difficulty with greater effectiveness and less unnecessary suffering. If you found this exploration illuminating, we invite you to deepen your connection with our astrological community at Secret of the Zodiac. We're dedicated to providing not just surface-level horoscopes, but substantive insights into the cosmic forces that shape our experience. By subscribing to our channel, you'll receive regular explorations into each sign's unique qualities, relationship dynamics between different astrological placements, and practical applications of cosmic wisdom to everyday challenges. Your engagement makes this exploration possible. When you like our videos, you help them reach others seeking deeper understanding of astrological influences. When you comment, you contribute to a community of cosmic explorers sharing insights and personal experiences that enrich our collective understanding. We particularly value your thoughts on which Capricorn qualities you've witnessed in action, either in yourself or in the Capricorns who've impacted your life. For those who find particular value in our content, we respectfully invite you to consider supporting Secret of the Zodiac through Super Thanks. This financial contribution helps offset the considerable costs of producing daily high-quality astrological content, from research and script writing to production and community engagement. Your support through Super Thanks directly enables us to maintain our commitment to daily uploads, in-depth analysis, and continual improvement of our cosmic explorations. In true Capricorn fashion, we're building this astrological resource with patient dedication to quality, strategic vision for growth, and unwavering commitment to substance over superficiality. By joining us on this journey through subscription, engagement, and optional financial support, you become part of a community dedicated to understanding the stars, not merely as distant cosmic bodies, but as profound influences on our human experience. Until our next cosmic exploration, remember that understanding your astrological nature isn't about limitation, but liberation. Not determining what you can't do, but illuminating the unique strengths you bring to life's inevitable challenges. The stars don't control our destiny. They simply illuminate the path we're already walking. Thank you for exploring the remarkable toughness of Capricorn with us today at Secret of the Zodiac.